What's up guys, Taylor with TK Disc Golf, and today we are reviewing the Uplink from MVP Disc Sports with the flight numbers 5 speed, 5 glide, -3 turn, and half fade. That makes this disc super understable and very controllable still, regardless if you're a newer player or have lots of experience. If you're in the woods and have a nice narrow shot or need something that turns right for the entirety of the flight with a nice panning out at the end, Uplink is the disc you want to go with. We're going to take this thing to the field, throw it in some wooded lines, and then we're going to talk the paradox as well, since it's pretty similar to that. Starting off with some field work, Tyler had his Uplinks going some pretty decent hyzer flips, to be honest. When he committed to a full-blown hyzer release, letting it ride nice and high, the thing would go laser straight with absolute minimal fade. I mean, he had to throw it with some pretty good height and good hyzer to keep it super straight for him, just because he does throw pretty hard. And also the wind was not the greatest. I think it was a tailwind, might have had a slight left to right push as well, making it a little more flippy than it really is supposed to be. But open field shots, Tyler was probably pushing these out to about 300 feet, a little bit more than that, just because he was trying to control the power, not trying to throw crazy distance and mash them, because if you mash this disc too hard, especially at Tyler's power, it's going to turn quite a bit for you. Heck, even turn into some roller shots. He threw some rollers. They turned out really sick. If you have a shot that you don't want to pull out a driver on a crazy roller, like instead of pulling out an orbital or a relay, whatever you throw rollers with, hey, the Uplink might work for you as well. But where I think this disc is really going to shine is in the woods. We didn't have our camera for this, but we played the Kentucky State Doubles down at Idlewild. Tyler and I were partners, and we had the Uplink then, and the disc hadn't really been announced yet, but it was some of the greatest throws that I've personally ever seen Tyler throw. I mean, the woods at Idlewild were the absolute perfect shot shaping holes for this disc in particular. I'm really bad with the hole numbers because the Pro Tour only plays 18 of the 24 holes there. But in particular, hole 23, which if you've never played Idlewild, you probably don't know what the hole looks like because it's not on the Pro Tour layout. It's an uphill 215 feet, something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong. But it's uphill and narrow, and this disc, when thrown on a nice hyzer flip, gets just all the way up to the basket for me. I parked it both rounds, and then Tyler wound up with an ace, actually, so that was pretty sick. But for these wooded shots, man, you just throw it on a nice hyzer. You don't have to overexert yourself. If it's a hole that you would normally throw a putter on, like if your putter range is like 250, 260, heck, even 270, and you don't want to have to actually mash the putter as hard as you can and it's a low ceiling, just pull out the Uplink. You throw it on a nice hyzer flip, it'll ride it laser straight, the most insane glide you ever see, and you don't have to overexert yourself to get it there. But lastly, I want to talk about the differences between the Uplink and the Paradox. A month or so ago, Axiom Discs announced the Paradox. That one's got the flight numbers 5, 4, -4, 0. Uplink's got 5, 5, -3, half fade. Realistically, the difference is that little bit of fade and then a little bit less turn. For a higher power thrower, like if you're crushing drivers 400 plus, for you, obviously go with the Uplink, but to you, you're probably going to find both discs are pretty understable for you. But if you're moderate power like myself, I truly do see myself throwing the Uplink more often, just because I feel like I get so much more control out of the disc. The Paradox, I can get the same lines, I can get beautiful lines out of it, but if you overexert the disc, it is going to turn and hit on edge, versus this one, when I hyzer flip it up, it's going to turn forever, but I never really absolutely yeet it into like a roller, at least for my power when I'm throwing it. I'm not really trying to throw it on like 300 plus foot holes. I'm throwing it on holes that are like 250, 275, where I don't feel like trying to crush a putter out there, and I just feel like throwing nice controlled power, Uplink is the shot I'm going to go to. The lower power throwers, you could probably find good use out of both of them. Paradox obviously is going to be the most beginner friendly. Uplink, you're going to get great hyzer flips out of it as well, but might have some nice controlled fade towards the end on if you're a really lower power thrower. Alrighty guys, that concludes our review video of the Uplink from MVP Disc Sports. If you want to get one of these, the only way to get one is from the Gyropalooza packs from this year. It's an exclusive to that. I'm sure there's going to be a stock release later, but for now, pick up one of the Gyropalooza packs when those release towards the end of October, I believe. Hit your local retailer up for that. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.